We mentioned a power rankings update. ESPN has the Sacramento Kings at 8. The Athletic has them slotted at 7th. They got jumped by Kenny's other favorite team, the New York Knicks.
I'm a supporter.
NBA.com has the Kings at 8th.
I think the Knicks jumped the Kings in all of them. Only one of them showed where they were previously ranked. But I think the Knicks jumped the Kings in all the rankings.
So I understand that during the football season, we do power rankings.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fun little bit. It's fun to talk about teams that are ascending, descending, having good weeks, bad weeks, whatever the case may be. But we also try to explain why we're moving someone up, someone out, head to head, especially when you get later in the season, or if these two teams were to play, blah, 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 blah. I feel like the same thing is being written about the Sacramento Kings every week. So it's one thing to do a power rankings practice over the course of 17, 18 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's different to do it over the course of 25 or 7 or 8 or however long the NBA season is going to wind up being. Because I find what they're doing is they're basically, if they're not just flat out cut and paste, they're just moving words around. For example, this is not a knock on the writer, by the way.
Okay.
It's a knock on the practice.
Okay.
From ESPN. The beam is lit and is strong. The Kings' offense remains tops in the league. And at this point, there's no reason to think it's going to slow down. De'Aaron Fox scored 30-plus points in 8 straight games before missing Monday's contest against New Orleans. Still, the Kings need to turn up their defense. Now, that exact 2-word synopsis has been written every week for the last 10 weeks. It has been some version of the Kings' offense is really good and their defense is really bad. And go back to 2 weeks ago. This is week 18 of the power rankings. The Kings got their second All-Star selection. De'Aaron Fox was named as a substitute. Since then, he scored 30 points in 3 straight games. The Kings' offense is elite, while the defense has left a lot to be desired. With so much movement in the West, the defense needs to improve if the Kings hope to keep a spot among the conference's top 3 clubs. That was 2 weeks ago.
And that was ESPN too?
This is the same. It's the same. Yeah, it's ESPN. It's ESPN's power rankings. I'm saying it's cut and paste, mix up the words a little bit. You want to go back to the week prior? Yes, you do. This was week 17, the week before what I just read.
Yeah.
Could the Kings be on their way to getting a second All-Star? Probably yes. And well-deserved for point guard De'Aaron Fox, who is averaging 24.1 points per game, 6.2 assists so far this season. The Kings have a steady grasp on the 3rd seed in the Western Conference. And if their defense improves, there's no reason to think that they'll drop off. The last 4 power rankings have said this exact same thing. Again, it's not a knock on the writer or the reporter. It's a knock on the process.
Yeah. Now, this may be a knock on the writer. I'm not here to knock the writer, but it is what it is. We'll just shift publications. The Athletic has them at 7.
Okay.
And the barista comes in here and he says, the Kings have obliterated the over-under from the sports book in the preseason. They're about to surpass the Summer League fan chance of 40 wins we heard when they were so excited about Keegan Murray. The Kings have been the best success story of the season. They haven't improved defensively, but they're running away with the best offense in the NBA, so it doesn't matter for now. This is a different publication.
Amazing.
Same terminology.
It look, yeah. I mean, at some point, I mean, do we hang our hat on something else?
Can I go back a little further? Now, I don't know when this was exactly, but the Kings had 30 wins at this time. So I'm thinking it's around the All-Star break. Mike Brown hasn't been able to get consistency from the Kings defense in the first half this season. But the offense has been good, so good that they're going to easily surpass their over-under. Then he just goes on and says a bunch of word salad. But, I mean, I think it's in everybody's contract. You got to talk about how bad they are on the defensive end.
We started off with week 20's power rankings. Let's go back to week 14. The Kings won all 4 of their games last week and scored no fewer than 132 points in any of their wins, which makes sense since their offense leads the league in points per game. Their scoring makes up for their defense. But if they can figure that out, the Kings' beam could shine even brighter. It's 2 months of this.
This is hilarious.
It's 2 months of this. This is phenomenal. Hire me. I can do this. I can absolutely do this same stuff.
Now, let me swerve a little bit, and I want to see something real quick.
I'm sorry. This is week 11. The beam is still bright in Sacramento. The Kings offense has been able to make up for their shaky defense. This is incredible. Come on, man. This is incredible. This is NBA talking points at its absolute finest.
Now let me, because I wanted to check this out. The Kings routinely get talked about their poor defense. I'm just going on points per game right now. They're 28th. They give up 118 points per game. The Golden State Warriors are 24th. They give up 117 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what they say about the Warriors.
Okay.
We've seen the Warriors go on massive runs throughout the season. This is not a work. I haven't read this. We're reading it live. Maybe they'll say something about the defense. Maybe not.
I got you.
Oh, it's live, pal.
We've seen the Warriors go on massive runs throughout a season. I'm very open to the idea of a Steph Curry return galvanizing such a thing. But this is a 500 team after 40 games. And finishing the season on a 33-9 run is not going to happen. The Warriors just need to focus on getting healthy, trying to avoid the play-in tournament, and getting their young guys ready for the playoffs. Trying to get to 50-plus wins probably isn't in the cards. The end. Any mention of their defense? Any?
No mention.
Pulp Fiction the other day, I'm looking around like Travolta. No mention. The team is awful on defense. Awful. And they're saying, hey, just get ready for the playoffs, guys. Get healthy. Everything's going to be all right. They're awful on defense. Last year when they won a championship, I think they were like the number 2 defensive team in the league. They're 24th. They're awful. But we don't mention their defense. Just get healthy, guys. Get healthy. Try to avoid the play-in. Get healthy.
Meanwhile, over at ESPN, the Sacramento Kings were 13-9 when these power rankings came out. I believe this is week 8, maybe week 7. Let me confirm. This is week number 7. The Kings just keep rolling. What may have felt like an early season fluke with their success has proven to be legitimate. Just imagine if Mike Brown can insert the defensive prowess he built at Golden State into this Sacramento team. They could stay dangerous and sustain it. So here, they're 13-9.
Yeah.
If Mike Brown could insert his defensive prowess that he showed at the Golden State Warriors, they could sustain this dangerousness. Fast forward 13 weeks later, they're still talking about the defense, and the Sacramento Kings have moved up to the 2 spot in the Western Conference, but the talking points are exactly the same.
Exactly the same. It's, you know what? Look, man, I'm sure they got a lot to do. They got a job to do. I'm not a writer.
It's
I wouldn't
not a
wanna write
knock
all
on
these
the
words.
writer.
You
It's
know,
a knock
yeah.
on the process.
It just seems a little lazy, guys. That's all it is.
I
It just seems a little lazy.
Now I'm obsessed. I want to see the earliest reference to the Kings defense. That's what I want. I want to see how, like, where can I find? Oh, they're ranked 23rd.
They
Oh
don't play no
boy.
defense. That's why
Oh,
they're
wait a
ranked
minute.
23rd.
What year is this? I think I jumped years. I saw a Luke Walton reference. I jumped years. Wait a minute. Well, the bit's over now because I'm jumping years here at this point.
But this is the
Amazing.
thing. This is the thing. And before, tell the people what to listen to real quick.
You are listening to D-Lo and KC on KIFM West Sacramento, KRXQ HD2 Sacramento, ESPN 1320. We are always live and free on the Odyssey app, as we are for your visual pleasure over at Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and your Twitter timeline as well.
Absolutely. The whole moral of the story of this practice was our guy Drapes came on here last week.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, we need to stop like clamoring for respect or national TV games and all this national media coverage. And he said, if they don't want to pay attention, so be it. And I thought about that. And you know what? He's probably right.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why he's right is because half the time they're just going to get it wrong or do something lazy anyway. Like they don't watch the Kings. Like they don't watch them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need anybody talking about this team that is going to give inaccurate information.
Mm-hmm.
It's simple as that. We joked about it about TNT. Whose name are they going to get wrong on Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
I say Keegan Bradley will be the name.
Oh, Keegan Bradley.
But I mean,
I think they're going to get Chimezie Metu wrong.
Oh, Chimezie.
They're going to get Chimezie Metu wrong.
I got my money on Trey Lyles.
I was going to say
that's a good. Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm going to say Trey Lyles. That could be one of them.
That's a good one because he'll get minutes. Like he's going to get a run.
Yeah, that's a good call. And you know, it might be Terrence Harris the third. It may be that again.
Could be the return.
But you know, the whole point of it is like they don't watch. They don't watch. They don't care. They're gonna get the information wrong, whether it's TNT, ESPN, everybody on the Athletic, except for Anthony Slater and Jason Jones and Sam Amick. Everybody else is gonna get it wrong. So number one, I don't need to hear them saying the wrong things. And number two, like De'Aaron Fox said, they're gonna have to come here anyway. They're gonna have to come here anyway.
Yeah.
So, you know. You got us. You don't need to hear from the national media. You got us. I mean, we had people last year talking about Tyrese Halliburton was getting DNPs, bro.
DNP CDs. Buddy Hield. Flamethrower.
They lit the Kings on fire.
From the preseason power rankings, where the Kings were ranked 20th. Just above Portland. For all the offensive talent on the roster, the Kings will have to play Brown's brand of defense in order for them to succeed in this system. Sacramento ranked 27th in defensive efficiency last season and last in 2021. The Kings have not finished even in the top half of the league in defensive efficiency since Rick Adelman's final season in 2005-2006. Brown led the Warriors to second in defensive efficiency last season, getting the players, including his stars, Fox and Sabonis, to buy in and lead defensively will determine whether or not the Kings can contend for a playoff spot this season. Now, I point that out, and we tie this whole thing together Because one thing that's really striking me with the way they're talking before the season, the way that they talked about defense all throughout the season is because they're watching in highlight form and they're clearly researching and talking points, they don't see the Sacramento Kings offense and their ability to score not just 114 plus, but 130 plus as dangerous, as a threat. It's clear as recently as this week, they don't see that as a winning formula moving forward. And to me, it just shows you're unfamiliar with the 15-2 number. You're unfamiliar with whatever the absurd plus 114 number is. And while it's unconventional, the Kings are in the position that they're in, which as of this exact moment is second in the Western Conference because of their offense. Their defense is nowhere near where anyone hoped it would be, wanted it to be. I'm confident that includes Mike Brown and Doug Christie and Lindsey Harding and Jay Triano and Rudy Fernandez. All of those guys, they wanted the defense to be better. It's not. Mike Brown made the adjustment. What can we do to continue to win games with our defense not being where we want to? Let it fly. And that's what they've done. But if you don't watch them on a regular basis and you're stat hoeing,
tell them
you're not seeing that as a formula of success. You're not seeing that as a way to win because it's different.
Right. No, you're 100% correct, man. And
damn right I am.
The thing that I always talk about, I'm talking about this season, because people talking about things get ratcheted up in the playoffs. You're not going to be able to do that in the playoffs and all this other stuff. I'm not saying it as like nobody's going to stop them. I'm not saying it like it's not possible. But who that the Kings potentially are going to face are going to stop them from scoring 120? Stop them from 125. Dallas? No.
Right. Yeah.
No.
Yep.
That ain't happening. New Orleans, they just put 130 on their head or close to 130 without De'Aaron Fox. The Warriors? No. Like if they lose to the Warriors, it ain't going to because they put out that playoff defense and start locking up. No. So if that's your thought process, like, yeah, this offense is cool, but it's going to change when it gets to the playoffs. I think this year, let's just be real, because I watch the league. You watch the league. Some of these other guys, they don't watch the league. They just watch the East Coast and all this other stuff and the Lakers and the Warriors. Nobody's playing defense this year. And that ain't changing once you get to the playoffs. It's like maybe Milwaukee plays defense. Boston is hit or miss. Maybe New York. Maybe Denver. That's it. Nobody playing defense out here. The team that I thought was some defensive juggernaut, Los Angeles Clippers, they won 76 the other day. All these games that we talk about in the last 5-6 games for them, like 130, 124, all this. There ain't nobody playing defense like that.
Yeah.
You had the stat like last week. There was like 25, 120 or plus scoring outings in the playoffs last year.
And that was just an informal look. That wasn't me sitting there counting. It was probably significantly more.
Yeah.
It's like an old narrative that's at this point, it's not true. But because it keeps getting recycled and reused over and over and over again, you're led to believe it is. It's not. JR used to say, you go with what brung you to the dance. I'm sure a lot more broadcasters besides Jim Ross said that, but
that's Will Chipper.
That's who I know who said it. And that's literally what every team does. But you can point to the failure of the Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire, Sean Marion, Phoenix Suns teams and go, when it boiled down to it, they got beat by the San Antonio Spurs, who are a better defensive team. You literally referenced the dynasty.
Right. Right.
Give me another one. Anyone besides San Antonio. Because I don't think you'll be able to. And that wasn't directed at you. I mean, in general, I don't think you'll be able to. You can point to San Antonio beating Phoenix. That's Greg Popovich. That's a certified Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
That's a dynasty in the San Antonio Spurs. If you want to give me another reference to a team that got out and ran and pushed the ball and was a high-scoring team and then got obliterated by a top defensive unit in their conference or in the finals, talk to me. Talk to me.
They got, remember
the closest you might get is Cleveland. And I don't know for sure that even maths out, but you might get Cleveland over Golden State.
The other thing about that, remember the informal practice that I did with the team that led the league in scoring, what they did in the playoffs? Aside from Minnesota last year, who led the regular season in scoring at 115.9 tonight. That ain't 120. It's 115. Aside from that, all those other teams the last 10 years, they've either lost in the second round. I'll put it to you like this. They've all won a round in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And you can make the argument last year Minnesota should have won. They blew like 2 20-point leads against Memphis last year. Like, what people are talking about, like this team don't play defense. Yeah, I get that. I understand that. They're not stout on the defensive end. That's not something that's going to keep them from, if we've seen it now, making the playoffs. That was the thought way before. Like, man, I don't know if you get to the playoffs not playing no defense. Well, they're obliterating that.
Yeah.
And it's also something that doesn't keep you from winning a round in the playoffs. You can win the round the way you can. Does it stop you from winning a championship? Yes, I believe that too. Yeah, you can't play defense this bad traditionally and win a championship. But ain't nobody talking about that. People first were saying they probably wouldn't even be able to stay in the top 6 because they don't play no defense. That's cap. And then they didn't push the goalpost even further, said they probably can't win in the playoffs because it's going to ratchet up. That's probably cap too. Like if the Kings played the Mavericks, Pelicans, or Timberwolves, I'd pick them to win that series. I'd probably pick them. I'd be scared to death of 30, but I'd probably pick them to beat the Warriors, especially if Andrew Wiggins isn't there.
Yeah.
Like the teams you guys are concerned about, they're not going to see them for like a round or two.
Mm-hmm.
It's my take.